we also saw a lot of individuals who had never previously encountered any issues surrounding substance use all of a sudden developing such issues. We saw a large increase in alcohol consumption, alcohol purchasing during the pandemic. We saw things like virtual happy hours at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, which are kind of amusing to look at, but for many people, it went from recreational to now dangerous. And what we're also seeing now in this kind of new normal is, as people are trying to regain that sense of normalcy, they are also potentially realizing that these behaviors and these habits that have started during the pandemic are now counterproductive. So again, people who never had prior issues are now realizing, like, okay, now maybe this is an issue for me, and I am struggling to recreate this normal. And I am now suffering because of the loss and trauma. And when we have a trauma like this, it creates emotional pain, but it can also create physical pain too. So, when we talk about opiates and use of that, it's also good to keep in mind that, again, this experience is very emotional and physical. So we are seeing a lot of people now seeking help. And one thing to keep in mind is we're talking about a perfect storm situation. So we have, the global trauma of the pandemic, but then we also have the very scary and very difficult kind of third wave of what we're seeing of this opiate epidemic. And when I say third wave, what we are seeing is the first wave of this epidemic was what we had seen with the overprescribing of opiate medication, as Dr. LaPietra had talked about, kind of that swing of the pendulum in the other direction. So many people getting hooked onto the prescription medication. But what we saw happen was many people who became addicted to prescription medications could no longer afford those medications. And it became difficult to attain them. And there was a large shift from opiate medication abuse to then heroin abuse. Heroin was the much, unfortunately, cheaper, more pure option. So individuals switching from opiate medication use to heroin use. And what we're seeing now in this third wave is now the use and abuse of synthetic opiates, what we're seeing in tramadol, fentanyl. Now, the scary part about that is the overdose rate for that is so much higher than what we've ever seen before, because synthetic opiates like fentanyl are so much more powerful, so much more potent. And these are things that one use could take the life of an individual. These are such potent substances that even Narcan may not be effective in reviving someone to whom has overdosed from synthetics.